All right. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Empire Interviews. This is one that I'm really excited about because I love the story of Clementine's Nightmare, and I wanted to get a little bit behind some of the creative aspects of what that world looks like. And I wanted to share that with you guys. I know there's a lot of big fans out there of Clementine's Nightmare and the things that they are doing. So, talking to Alex today, one of the creatives behind writing the webtoons and some of the other things. So we're going to be diving into that today. All right. Hey there, Alex. Thank you so much for joining me here today. For a lot of people out there that aren't so familiar with you, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and I know that you've had a long history in the creative side of things.
Yeah, hey John. My background. Gosh, I don't go too far back. I went to. I'm originally from the East Coast of the United States. I came out to California as a young man to go to film school, but I also had this deep love of video games. I was always kind of fighting myself growing up. Dividing my time between gaming and stories and all that. So I was in film for a while. I graduated from USC, University of Southern California. Went to the film program there, and then I was in film development for like over a decade, and writing scripts and screenplays, and getting some traction. Getting on certain insider lists, these unproduced scripts lists and such, and doing meetings and all that, and option to script at one point. But it was film industry is difficult. It was difficult then. I think it's even more difficult now. And then I switched careers. I fell into to the advertising world and the gaming advertising world. Incidentally, through a friend who I met there at school. So I started working for this company called Petrol Advertising, and which a lot of the clients are gaming, not all of them, but a big majority. So the company's expertise is absolutely in sort of a broad spectrum of video games, and so I really just started kind of doing copywriting there and writing for game advertising, whether it be taglines or AV, video commercials for the games, or website copy, all sorts of things.
So I'm going to stop you there real quick because I want to know, because I'm curious. Do you still game, and what are some of the biggest titles that you have worked with in your professional career? And then what are some of your personal favorite titles that you've played?
Sure. I definitely still game. I'm a daily gamer. My favorite game that is actually incidentally one of Petrol's games that we're very proud of over there, Call of Duty. So I'm a console gamer, primarily. I also do mobile games. Ironically, mobile games tend to be more of the cozy games. Like I like SimCity games like that. I was in the Clash of Clans for a while. I definitely am a gamer. And in terms of like titles I worked on, I have worked on most recently worked on the new the official Squid Game mobile game. Wrote commercials for that, and helped generate what ultimately became the title for that. They're not obviously not Squid Game, but they have a subtitle, so part of that. And then worked on other games like Armored Core 6. Wrote this commercial it was a live action commercial, starred Rainn Wilson from The Office, which was insanely fun to make. And we were like running out of jokes for him to say and on the day, and coming up with stuff and things like that. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole gamut. I've been very fortunate to work on a broad variety of titles and also genres, and that's what I love so much, is being able to kind of bounce from one kind of genre to another, whether it's
I
family friendly or more edgy. So yeah.
absolutely, I love that. And so a while ago, I came across Clementine's Nightmare, and I was looking over the webtoons. The webtoons, I think, are really exciting. Um, I want you to give a brief overview of what Clementine's Nightmare is, as far as from the I guess the literary world, or I don't know what the correct way to say is, but how would you describe and can you paint Clementine's Nightmare, the world that it lives in, and what it's kind of like?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, in terms of a genre, it's it was always kind of meant to be an accessible story that could be kind of pretty much all audiences friendly. We kind of dubbed a term for it called whimsical macabre, if you will. Certainly influenced by things like maybe a little bit of Tim Burton in there. But maybe a little more accessible. And yeah, so that's kind of the main kind of genre of it. How it came to be. It was originally we were pitching things for like some Web3 things to some big IPs in the not just gaming but film space and just pop culture space. So we were taking some meetings with some big kind of players, and none of those really worked out. But at some point along the way, we were like, hey, maybe we could do our own thing. And I got kind of pulled into it. It didn't start with me. It started with my colleague Sean Wood, who's one of our art directors at Petrol. And Sean had this kind of a basic story about a young girl named Clementine, which was named after his daughter. And she has to ultimately go find her missing parents. And she is dealing with basically the manifestations of her nightmares, her sleeping nightmares, and as well as her dreams, sort of these dark side characters and these light side characters coming into her real world. So she kind of becomes this like portal for both her nightmares and her dreams. And so kind of like this basic story. And that was kind of it. And then I came in and we started fleshing it out a bit. And then kind of simultaneously, our art team was working on characters. So the process was really fun for me because, coming from kind of the formal kind of Hollywood, story writing, they always teach you, character is story. People always think of plots and, it's a movie about, this happens, but really what great movies are about, characters and what they're going through and what their struggles are and how they all interact. And so this story kind of came about. It was very character driven from the beginning. So the team was kind of imagining all of these different characters. So, it was Sean, he was working with our creative director and CEO of Petrol, Alan Hunter, and then our really talented team of artists. And they were all coming up with all these amazing, nightmare characters and dream characters. And so we had Clementine, we knew who she basically was, but then there were all these other, really cool characters, and they needed names and they needed, backstories. And so that's kind of where I came in. I kind of came in and made sense of it all. So it was, I mean, for me, it was really super fun because I was like, oh, cool. Like I see this amazing character, and then like it sets the imagination off, and you're like, who are they? What's their deal? And then you can really start to go deep. And then of course, like you have to stitch it all together. Like these characters all have to like, have a reason to be there. So that was really kind of how Clementine's Nightmare, the story, and the webtoon ultimately was really built. And then of course all of this was also tied to a video game as well, that's been in development. So these characters, are intended to be in that and are in that as well. So and it's this sort of card battler game. So that's really kind of how the story came about.
I love that. And just the excitement from you when you're talking about how like you're just putting all these different things together and kind of like have all these different threads being like spun sort of at the same time simultaneously, and then making sure that they all come together. I think that's kind of like beautiful, but also like exciting. I wanted to ask, because I always think about one of my favorite games, period. That kind of reminds me of, in a sense, Clementine's Nightmare, but I don't know if you would have ever played it. But did you play Kingdom Hearts?
I
You know,
know of Kingdom Hearts. I
yeah,
haven't really played it. I've seen the gameplay. I know it's that all that Disney IP
yeah,
together, and that kind of sort of maybe darker mystical kind of setting, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I can see the connection from my kind of more sort of cursory knowledge of it. Yeah.
yeah. Definitely, Kingdom Hearts was one of my favorite games because you start out in one world, and then you're actually traveling through all the other worlds, and the other worlds happen to be the Disney worlds, right? Like every single Disney show or like special IP had its own planet with its own rules, and like that to me is kind of like something I relate with Clementine's Nightmare, because you're able to go into this world where the regular rules don't apply, right? But at the same time, it's fun, very interesting, and like you said, it's like whimsical, macabre. So you have that kind of like dark, sort of spooky sort of thing, but it also has its very like light and exciting sort of moments in it. Um, I guess one of the things I would like to ask is like, how big and immersive of a world do you imagine that Clementine's Nightmare could be? And like, if you were to like take a moment and like run wild with it, like, what do you see as far as like the potential of that kind of story or IP? Because it's pretty in depth, right?
Yeah, actually, I mean, the irony is that it's supposed to take place in a small town. Kind of one of these, almost, maybe, sort of a Tim Burton town. But I think the scope of it is infinite, really, because of what it's about. Because it's about dreams and nightmares, and these can, yeah, how many dreams have you had, even when you're a young girl like Clementine in your life? We base all these characters on these kind of twisted versions of sort of people and things, and that she's experienced in her life, that now kind of manifest in her dreams and then become real. So in terms of even just one person's dreams kind of manifesting so many different, both protagonists and antagonists, heroes and villains. I think it's infinite, and that was kind of always the exciting potential of it, is that we started with a pretty big cast of characters. In fact, there were so many. It was a challenge, a fun challenge to figure out how to get them all in there. We wrote these 4 chapters, and I think as you go along, they kind of get progressively longer, and we're trying to kind of keep them contained, and fairly so. But you just you kind of have to sort of do justice to these characters, and we wanted them all in there. I mean, you know, I definitely wanted, you know, all of them represented, you know, in this thing. So we kind of have this story where, you know, you focus on several, but then it kind of leads to this kind of, you know, more of a, you know, like, you know, a battle of brewing, right? And so it becomes kind of this landscape of warriors. And even, you know, by the end of the webtoon, we've set up some characters. There's a lot that get developed, but there's also tons that you're like, whoa, like this person is kind of, you know, even ones that are dropping in the fourth chapter and kind of getting some quick introductions and some quick sort of arcs and integrations into, you know, the story and the action and how do they relate to, you know, Clementine. So it's all there's a, I mean, yeah, there's an infinite potential scope of the story, I think, you know, for sure, just by nature of you know, of what it is. So yeah.
Absolutely. When I look at this kind of story or IP, like I instantly think of things like Coraline, right? I think of
Oh yeah.
these like Tim Burton classic like movies, right? I just think that there's so many broad places that it could go, and very exciting. As well as this could be like a series, this could be like a book series, this could be a movie series. So many broad directions, and very exciting about some of the developments that have come about in the game. What are some of your favorite movies, and what is it that you look for in a movie that draws in your attention?
I mean, I have a very broad range of taste, but I definitely, I mean, I went to school because, you know, I wanted to go where, you know, I wanted to go to USC. I was very fortunate to get in there. And the reason I wanted to go is because kind of all my heroes were making these really kind of big, awesome blockbuster movies. I mean, I grew up, you know, Star Wars. You know, I'm a huge Star Wars geek. I am, you know, so happy that I finally, you know, got to see the, you know, the opening up of that world, you know, as an adult after just living with like three films for so long as a kid. I love movies like Back to the Future, you know, Robert Zemeckis films. I'm also a huge, you know, Alfred Hitchcock fan. You know, I love movies that, you know, they surprise you. They have really compelling characters. They're, you know, I love imaginative hooks. I mean, I love the Twilight Zone. I love that kind of out of the box thinking, and like where does that meet, you know, a character? You know, it's like in the Twilight Zone, you know, there's that episode where the guy, he just wants to read books and his wife, you know, keeps taking them away from him, and then he survives a nuclear blast, and it's like
He
now
has
he
all
has
the
all the time in the world to read, but then his glasses break, and so it's
books.
kind of like you have this like crazy event, but it all comes back to this like dude who just wants to read. So anyway, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have a very broad taste, but I do tend to like kind of the movies that kind of speak to everybody, and, you know, just have that wonderful balance of imagination and characters with actors that play things with real conviction, and then just ultimately things that, you know, everybody kind of can, you know, or most people can, you know, sort of enjoy and rally around. You know, I
Did you
appreciate art films and things, but um, you know, I'm a lover of all film, but, you know, so yeah.
did you by chance see Inside Out? Because that's kind of another sort of film, kind of like a strategy, sort of like a world in its own that I sort of see playing out similarly in these characters in something like Clementine's Nightmare, where it is about like emotional development, right? There is some growth and different sorts of changes that go on in the characters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a great analogy. Actually, that's an awesome comparison to Clementine. I think there's a lot of parallels for sure. You know, it's like instead of her dreams and nightmares, it's her emotions, and, you know, there's so many of those that are nuanced. So you can have a lot of those kinds of characters, and, you know, both positive and negative. You know, kind of all coalescing and trying to work things out in kind of a more external a way that allows, you know, kids kind of process and think about these things. So I love Inside Out. I love the sequel. I think they're just, that's some Pixar Disney at its finest. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So now this is just one of the last questions that I like to ask everybody because I'm a foodie. So the question is, if you could go anywhere in the world and eat anything, what would it be? And paint a picture for us of what that experience would be like.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm a foodie too. Fortunate to live in a city with a lot of every option, pretty much. Here in LA, and if I had one place I had to choose, I'd go to Japan because I love sushi, and I want to say it was either Anthony Bourdain maybe, or maybe it was probably him, or maybe it was uh the why am I blanking on his name? Blonde haired dude yells at everybody. Uh
Like far or the I can't remember his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
yeah, we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just late in the day,
Ramsey,
and
right, or whatever.
what's that?
Ramsey, is it?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I've heard the great chefs basically say that Japan's kind of like the ultimate place where food is art. It is like just the best of the best. They put so much care into it. And I'm just I just love sushi. So I think if I had to pick one place, I would go there. But there's many places I would love to go. I love all kinds of food. I got a pretty broad palate, but
That's fantastic. All right, so let's see. So we've talked about Clementines, the world. We've opened it up a little bit. We've talked about different movies and different films and things that are exciting and that we love and that everybody loves, obviously, because I mean, these were not small movies we were talking about. These were like cult classics and fantastic things. Um, we talked about food. What if if you were to be a part of something massive that was specifically with the Clementines IP, what would it be that you would choose to be your role in it? Right. So like it could go multiple different ways, as we've talked about potential movies, shows, games, right, or just the writing of it. What aspect would you like to be a part of, and like why? Right. That's my question.
well, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing the webtoon, writing it. I mean, I've always been a storyteller. I also love the kind of the marketing of it as well. Obviously, I do that too. And I just I had a real blast actually narrating the webtoon recently, and so I mean I'd love to do voice work for it. I'd love to kind of continue to kind of be like a literal voice of that world, be that in the in some kind of filmed entertainment, or the game itself. So and then helping to kind of steer and keep those characters on track. I wouldn't mind. I feel like to your question earlier about it being a broad universe, I think it'd be great to to kind of collaborate with even other kind of writers and start to because if you have a big unfolding world, you start to have things you got to keep track of, and you want to kind of I think it'd be great to kind of collab in that fashion with some other talented people, maybe some talented directors. Um, but yeah, I love the storytelling end. I love sort of being the kind of like warm, enthusiastic, voice behind things, whether it's telling the story or doing a bad character voice or something like that. I love the yeah, I love putting the soul into the product. I don't draw. I'm not an illustrator. So I love it's like I said, it's just so fun to kind of collaborate with these other talented people that actually kind of, they came up with the look and the feel and the sensibility and the iconography of these characters, and then to put some lore into that and put some spirit into that. I'd love to be a part of all of that.
That's awesome. Alex, I appreciate your time so much. I think this was really great. I love how excited you get about talking about it and how much fun you had while working on Clementine's Nightmare. It is, I think, one of the biggest opportunities just in general, because of how expansive the opportunities and the possibilities are in that world. And it's really, the artwork is beautiful, the characters are beautiful, and your voiceovers I appreciate for the webtoons. I'm excited to put those together, and I'll have those out on the TikTok, as well as on the Twitter sometime in the short near term. But thank you so much, Alex. What would be, I guess, like sort of your like final thoughts or something you'd like to share with everybody who's watching this, as far as about Clementine, about advertising, literally about anything?
Well, gosh, I don't know. What do you think your audience wants to know?
Well, I think that that's a fair question. That's a fair question. So a lot of my audience is oftentimes very interested in the crypto and the blockchain space, but we like to really get to know people that are building different kinds of things in this space. So literally anything, which, like, to give you just a little bit of like a couple of like quick hits, some of the interesting interviews that we've had here recently. One of them was about Igon, which is a protocol that does decentralized cloud storage that is encrypted. So it's basically Google Cloud, but on the blockchain, and nobody knows any of the people involved, right? So, like, you could provide storage while I am using your storage to store my home pictures, right? Whatever. And or it could be running a video game on your computer that you're lending out the space on while you're not using it, right?
Oh.
And then some
Like
of the other,
Airbnb for digital storage.
exactly, and that's like the whole thing that they're trying to accomplish, is like that they are that for institutions. So like some of these huge data companies, they have all this space, they have all this capacity, and they don't use all of it. So now they can rent it out to regular people,
Oh, yeah, that's
right?
interesting. Yeah, I like that.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I love the the coming together of I mean, an idea like that. And I mean, I don't know, as you're talking, I was sort of thinking, I mean, like, maybe, this is sort of relevant to the audience, but it's like, I always love the idea, especially coming in gaming. And one of the things about, one of the dreams for Clementine was just the idea that, like, you could like own things, in the game. You could actually own the IP and pieces of the IP that you love. And it's like, it's yours, and that you can actually, have, things from in game, if it's a game, and you're able to literally, buy and sell and trade and share and, move things around, within the player community. I always love that. I thought that was such a, I've always thought that was just a really cool thing. I want that. Again, I play a lot of games that are, the traditional games obviously don't, still don't really operate so much like that. And that's cool. But I love the idea of having that as an option. I love the idea of worlds that are built that, because fandom, that's how fandom is, fandom, if you're, I love Star Wars, right? Like you collect things, like you're a collector, it's like you can, and then you meet other people that are collecting, and then, you're, it's just another great, form of interaction and, creating value for dreams, really, for things that you are emotionally invested in. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but
No, that was a super good answer, because like that's the thing, is like a lot of people that are kind of like outside of the crypto space, when they think of things like NFTs, which NFTs is just the the technical term for the digitization of something that is completely unique. So, like you were saying, to your point about like IP that you can own, right? An NFT is the best technical vehicle for making that happen. But a lot of people outside, they just think of pictures of monkeys that are worth millions of dollars, and they just think of like a picture, a hand drawn picture of a rock that somebody bought for like $6.5 million, right? They don't think about like these real world practical use cases, and like in the gaming world for one, as well as like just like it's very exciting to think that you could own a piece of something you love and then that thing be a whole immersive world that you could get lost in and that you can share that experience with other people through collecting different types of things like that. So I think it's definitely um, exciting, and the possibilities are endless. I think in the next 5 years is going to be like a really crazy time. I think in the world in general. We actually were just talking about on my live stream the other day about how we think that the point where people are going to be like, my term was main veining cell phones to where the Neuralink or the chip is in your brain. So your cell phone is not a physical item, but you're just connected to the internet. We're saying we think 5 years before it is like a thing, and then 10 years before it's mainstream. So like we're so close to that world. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, we're yeah, actually, yeah, one of my, I just read a book from uh, Ray Kurzweil. I don't know how many of your viewers know, or if you know who Ray Kurzweil is, but he he's on, head of I don't know exact title, but he's high up in the AI, um, group over at Google. He invented the reader for the blind and speech to text, and he's been writing about AI for literally decades and writing books and making predictions. And largely a lot of it's based on like Moore's law, but not entirely at all. And he's got a very good track record. They made this, I saw this documentary about him about over 16 years ago called Transcendent Man. And it's cool because you can go back and watch that, and he talks about like to the year, these what's going to be possible, kind of based on these trends. And and so yeah, like so apparently, if he's right, 4 years from now we'll have artificial general intelligence, where what we have right now is not really intelligent, but that will soon, in like literally, he's very specific. It's 2029. It's not 2030. It's not 2028. It's 2029. But it's because it's like we're shrinking transistors in half very consistently over the decades. Every 11 to 13 months. So it's like based on all these things. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the book recommendation, The Singularity is Nearer, just came out, a sequel to his 20-year-old book, The Singularity is Near. That's a really cool book. It's all the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're actually kind of close to that timeline. It really is. All that stuff's supposed to actually start happening in roughly that time frame. Yeah, literally, like they're talking about nanobots in your bloodstream monitoring your health. And why not? We keep shrinking our technology. That's why we have these phones now.
And we all have microplastics in our blood and in our bodies, so we
we already have those. We're all set up.
We might as well have nanobots in them too, 100%. And like that's actually like what you were talking about, the singularity. I'm gonna check that book out. That sounds fantastic, right up my alley. But we were also saying like Elon Musk gives a speech about where one of the problems with AI is alignment, right? So the problem is like to communicate to an AI that's going to take everything we say literally, what we want it to do without it literally doing something that harms us is very tough. And so part of the purpose of Neuralink was in order to be able to break down that communication barrier so that we can completely communicate exactly what we want communicated without any of the other stuff. So that way there is no misinterpretation. It is like exact understanding. And so that's part of the reason for Neuralink. And so in theory, right, we might get to a point where we have to have that kind of thing in order to make sure that AGI and us don't annoy each other, don't have any problems, communication issues.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a tool, you know, it's not an alien invasion, you know, we're the humans, so it's still up to us. You know. So and I guess we could still pull the plug, you know. Of course I don't, I'm not a computer expert. It's just, you know, things I've been fascinated about and I've read about, and you know, try to get good sources on. And it's really you know, I love the March of Progress. I think it's such a cool world we live in. We can do these video chats, you know, this wasn't possible all that long ago either. And so you know, who knows what's around the very close corner,
The nearer corner.
the nearer corner. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, let's use these forces for good and make our lives you know, as better as much as we can, and hopefully treat each other, you know, better and better if we can, as much as we can, you know. That's that should be the goal, I think.
Absolutely. Alex, this has been an excellent conversation, and we touched on literally everything that I would want to touch on, and then all of the AI stuff is a plus. Nice. I love this. The audience is going to love it. We've been talking about this for a while. Grok 3 is about to come out, which uses like it's like 10x the amount of like NVIDIA chips that it used for Grok 2, and really exciting stuff coming out. Yeah. There's the DeepSeek stuff that just happened a little bit ago, where everybody's freaking out about China. The whole economy in the US just tanked because they were like, oh, we got outplayed, but actually we're pretty ahead of the curve. So excited about what's going on. The tech is exciting.
It's like the stock market, you know, you gotta take the 50,000 foot view. You know, of course, things go up and down, you know, daily, and things happen. But overall, I think there's so many exciting things, so many different things happening, and now this tech is going to start to affect just about everything. So, yeah, hopefully more good. Hopefully more good than not good. So
yes, hopefully more good. Hopefully more dreams, right, than nightmares.
Exactly. Perfect segue. Yes.